JoJo's Bizarre Adventures is a very unique story crafted by Hirohiko Araki. In order to make his story more engaging and unique, Araki introduced a mechanic named Stands in the third part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Stands grant their users supernatural powers. Most stands can manifest as a physical entity alongside the user, but stands are invisible to non-stand users, with a few exceptions of course. Sounds like a pretty good deal. Sign me up. I mean, who wouldn't want to be a stand user? So one thing you need to remember is that in this bizarre world, all stands aren't created equally. Some stands are counterproductive, while some are self-destructive. For an example, some stands require the life of its user to be ended to activate their ability. Some stands are so powerful that they could wipe out entire universes, but are restricted by surreal limitations. Okay, fine, you might say, I don't care what kind of stand I get, I'm just not going to use it if it's a bad one. Then I'll be safe. That's probably what you're wondering, right? Dear viewer, to that I must ask you to pay attention towards this very fact. Stand users attract each other. This is depicted in a very heartwarming way in the fourth part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. But the more you think about it, the creepier it gets. Let's give you a decent stand. Let's say you have crazy diamond. Consciously or subconsciously, your stand will help you when you need it. You will notice people you didn't notice before. You will see strange creatures soaring through the air. You will see unsettling creatures walking around, and as soon as these creatures understand that they are visible to you, they will attack you. Because to them, you are not someone who is trying to live a quiet life. Well, not exactly a quiet life, an ordinary life. To them, you are an enemy that could end their lives in a split second. It is a lot like the short story From Beyond by H.P. Lovecraft. If you aren't familiar with it, well, the story goes like this. Two scientists work on a project to communicate with higher dimensional entities, or I'm not sure. I think it could have been to research higher dimensional entities. Either way, they create a machine that allows them to develop their pituitary glands to a supernatural degree, and well, the first scientist becomes able to communicate with beings beyond this dimension, and the story is about the second scientist and a reporter, I think, trying to stop the first scientist. Either way, the point I'm trying to make is that stands are a lot like the strange multi-dimensional creatures from the story From Beyond, because as soon as they find out that you can see them, they will attack out of self-preservation actually. Now that does sound unsettling, but it's not an dystopian nightmare. But that is where you are wrong. Although there are some inconsistencies regarding the way of inheriting stands, my argument is still sound. Sometimes there are stands that force themselves into people. The only example of this is Diavolo's King Crimson. I mean, stands like Cheap Trick also count, but I'm just talking about an entirely different entity that just decides to take over people's body just to exist. But the fact that it happened opens up the door to many more unknowable horrors. So a random person could literally give birth to a horrid monstrosity that murders their own parents in cold blood. Buildings and places that will trap you or change you for the rest of your life. Serial killers and monsters with superpowers are terrifying. But what if an innocent child that lives in your neighborhood awakens a stand that kills people subconsciously? Or a stand that can bend reality itself to its whims? You will have to either defeat this child or leave. And if you do leave, you could encounter more stand users, because you know how the line goes, stand users are drawn to each other. I'm of course talking about a universe where Stone Ocean ended differently. But some stand users that develop their stands during their childhood could end up growing up to be terrible people. For an example, I mean, Anasui, we can get Anasui.
言い換えるよ。何でも分解したくなるという症候群。分解しなくてはいられない性癖なんだ。
uh, and all the villains, I guess, except Dio, who awakened their stand later in life, and well, the pyramid didn't have stands. Okay, Diavolo was born with a stand. Father Pucci wasn't, or was he? That's an entirely different story. So let's not get too distracted. So let's get back to the point, shall we? And it is also equally twisted when repugnant criminals in death row awaken stand powers, escape and reoffend. Now, with all that said, there are of course stands that would allow you to escape all these consequences. But depending on the way you use it, the universe would literally force you to face the consequences. So I suggest you drop that arrow and leave Jesus' dead body alone. And maybe don't even consume strange fruits either. Although the world of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures is a terrifying world to live in, it is important to remember. As long as there is malice and bad intention, heroes will rise to the occasion and battle them. This is why I absolutely love JoJo's Bizarre Adventures.